Andy, we're here again to cram for the exam. It seems like we've been talking about every issue relating to American government and politics but one. And the one issue left, how do we take that test?
I see you busted out your stripes in honor of our last video blogcast in honor of test strategy. How do you strategize to take this pivotal exam on both the multiple choice portion and the free response portion?
Let's first look at how to take a multiple choice test. Andy, the AP American Government and Politics multiple choice section has 60 questions, and you will have 45 minutes to answer them. And they will cover all the topics in the course. However, priority goes to the institutions.
Well, certainly amongst the institutions, you really need to go back and review the executive branch and the legislative branch, because by the end of this exam, you'll feel like a majority of the questions will be about those two branches of government. Now, a majority of the questions will not be about them, but absolutely go back and review the presidency and Congress.
Do not forsake, when you're studying the presidency, the bureaucracy. I also would go back and review some of that civil rights and civil liberties material, because oftentimes that might get lost in a foundations unit or maybe shortchanged at the end of the year.
But key amongst everything, go back and review the critical vocabulary that we've been talking about here at CBS2, at Citizen U, because in the end, this AP government test is a vocabulary test. Do you know the concepts and terms of our government?
It's also a reading test, Andy. You're right. It will tax and test your ability to move through a rather complex web of prompts. Here is my suggestion to you, and that is this. After each question, before you look at the options, before you have this internal debate over, boy, A looks right, B looks right, C even kind of looks right, I would read the prompt and ask yourself, do I think I know the answer? If you do, look for the response, A, B, C, D, or E, that is closest to what you think is the right answer. I have found, Andy, in recent years that students who began having debates with themselves in the multiple choice ultimately second-guess themselves and mark answers that they knew were false when they first read the prompt.
Well, remember, the key to the multiple choice portion is pick the best answer. It doesn't say pick the perfect answer. It says pick the best answer. So that word association game is pivotal. If you have a question about separation of power, checks and balances, think of a couple examples of those and see if that is one of the best answers provided.
Remember, no penalty for guessing this time around, so you shouldn't leave any blank. I wouldn't skip, come back. For me, I'm going 1 through 60. There'll be time at the end to make sure you've bubbled in all 60 and do the best that you can. But Andy, I think where the money is, the money game's in the FRQs.
The free response questions, you get 4 of them. You get 100 minutes to answer all
100 minutes?
You'll have plenty of time left over. Try to use as much time as you can in detailing about the different concepts they ask you about in the free response questions.
Here's what we're suggesting to this year's test takers. There'll be 4 FRQs. First rule for me, I'm not labeling the A, B, C, and D sections in a question if they're offered. Number 1, I'm marking number 1, but if there's an A, I'm writing a solid paragraph for A. If there's a B, I'm skipping a space and writing a solid paragraph for the B. I'm not marking it A, I'm not marking it B, because there is no penalty for wrong information, and the readers who will grade your exam will fish for the right information throughout the essay. You could get A points in the 4th paragraph, only if it's unmarked. If you label the 4th paragraph D, you cannot get A points in a D paragraph.
Remember also to repeat the critical vocabulary of the question. This free response writing isn't necessarily going to make you a better writer, but if you do it properly, it will make you a better communicator. To simply go back, repeat the question vocabulary multiple times so that you're clearly writing and communicating to whoever's scoring your exam that you know what this question is about.
A couple more quick hints on how to make a better FRQ. Remember, if it says give 2, you can give more than 2. That you're not obligated to only give 2. So I would brainstorm. Whenever you're giving an option to give 2 or 3, give more than asked for, because again, there's no penalty for wrong information. The second quick hint here that I would offer all my students and all of you out there listening today is remember the difference between explain, discuss, and identify.
That's right.
And there's a rule to this. Identify, 1 sentence is good enough. Discuss, 2 sentences. Explain, there should be 3 distinct sentences to explain that particular point.
And remember, explain is the toughest thing to do because you have to make connections. And so whenever a question or a directive asks you to explain, make sure you're answering that critical question of because why or explain how. Are you answering the why or the how of the question to try to maximize the points that you can get on this free response?
Remember to give examples where you can, and those examples can be hypothetical, so don't worry about the details and specific names, places, and dates. Andy, we're here to cram for the exam. We've had an amazing spring of cramming. Now it's up to you students to do your best, and today we're talking about how to do better on just the mechanics of that exam. Multiple choice, FRQ. Cram for the exam. What's going on inside the news? We know we're 2 teachers. No fancy words.
No fancy suits.
Plain talk about issues you need to know.
Just in time.